Hello and welcome to the Mars Hill Almanac. My name is Ariel, and today we will be talking about the constellation Sagittarius and all of the neat objects around it in the Milky Way. But first, let's check in with our Flagstaff sky. In Flagstaff, the sun will be setting around 7:30 p.m. The moon will be rising low on the eastern horizon in its full phase as the sun sets. Over the next 2 weeks, it will wane until our next update, when it will be in its waning crescent phase just before dawn. Just above the full moon, you will be able to see both Jupiter and Saturn up at sunset. Jupiter will be the brightest object in the sky, visible with the naked eye, and Saturn will appear just to the southeast of Jupiter, also visible with the naked eye. Mars will be rising just after 11 p.m., and it will appear a little redder than the gas giants up in the sky. If you happen to be out and about around 2:30 a.m., you will be able to see Venus rise, which will replace Jupiter as the brightest object in the night sky. You'll be able to tell the difference between bright stars and planets because stars will twinkle while planets don't. Now, we are coming up on one of the most impressive meteor showers of the year, the Perseids, which peak mid-August. The Perseids are bits of space debris that interact with our atmosphere, originating from comet 109P, or the Swift-Tuttle comet. The radiant, or the area where these meteors will appear to come from, is the constellation Perseids, which is located in the northeastern sky. We will be hosting a meteor shower live stream on our YouTube channel on August 11th, so feel free to check that out. If you're interested in seeing this light show in person, it's best to get up early rather than stay up late. The best viewing is a couple hours to an hour before dawn, but a few meteors could still be streaking the sky as early as 10 p.m. Last week we focused on the constellation Scorpius, but this week we will be looking at the constellation Sagittarius, which is just east of Scorpius. Sagittarius is known as the Archer, and the constellation is supposed to depict a centaur drawing a bow and arrow. A noticeable feature in this constellation is that teapot shape, which is supposed to be the centaur's head and torso, and an arm drawing that bow back. If you take Antares, the bright red star in Scorpio, and follow it east, just past the center of our Milky Way, you'll reach the head of Sagittarius, or the top of that teapot. Now on to our deep sky challenge. The first object I'll be talking about is the Swan Nebula, also known as the Omega Nebula, or M17. This is a big, bright star-forming region located along that line of the Milky Way that has enough mass to form thousands of sun-like stars, and it's about 6,000 light-years away from us here on Earth. If you take Antares, that bright star in Scorpius, and make a line to Altair, the brightest star in Cygnus the Swan, the Swan Nebula is right about in the middle of that imaginary line, just above the teapot in Sagittarius. Another really neat object that can be seen is the Lagoon Nebula, or M8. The Lagoon Nebula is another beautiful star-forming region in the southern sky along the Milky Way, visible just to the west of Caus Borealis, or the top of that teapot in Sagittarius. The gas forming these stars has a little larger of a radius than the Swan Nebula, and M8 is a little closer, at 4,100 light-years away from Earth, so it may appear a little larger than the Swan Nebula when viewing through a telescope. Lastly, the Trifid Nebula is just north of the Lagoon Nebula, and there, through telescope aid, we can see another stellar nursery. The Trifid Nebula is especially interesting because we can see an emission nebula, where the gas emits its own light, a reflection nebula, where the nearby stars are illuminating the gas, as well as a dark nebula, where there are dust lanes of the nebula in front of the light sources, making the gas look backlit. With that, thank you so much for watching Mars Hill Almanac, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.